Now is the time for Desert Oracle Radio, the voice of the desert.
Night has fallen on the desert, and maybe night has fallen where you are too. Or maybe it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. The daylight savings business is just savage. One of those things the devil's own committee came up with. Something that was a lie from the start. The campaign for daylight savings time, which occurred in the previous century, was all based on lies, on marketing department lies using fake farmers' lore. They claimed that farmers preferred picking crops with the dew still on them, which was just some slogan somebody made up. It's not true. Besides, as important as agriculture is to feeding the nation, only about 1% of us work in farming. And that includes fishing and forestry. I guess because they all start with F in the labor statistics, which we don't have anymore, I guess. We're going to have to go with our gut, what we know is happening already. So for you farmers and ranchers and forestry people and fishermen, just get up whenever you want, whenever you think it's the right time for your work. And then we won't have to have it getting dark at 3 p.m. for everybody else, you know? Anyway, someday soon the EMP war will begin and we can all go back to sundials. Or better yet, we can go back to ignoring hourly time altogether. It's morning, then it's daytime, then it's night. What else do you need to know? Days get longer from winter solstice coming right up on December 21 to summer solstice. Then they start getting shorter until it's winter solstice again. People had this all figured out at least 12,000 years ago, when the first phase of the temple complex at Göbekli Tepe was constructed in prehistoric Anatolia on the eastern edge of the Mediterranean. Like all such places, it's a solar calendar too. You see it in the V-shaped characters, 365 of them in all, representing 12 lunar months plus an extra 10 days, plus that summer solstice V for 365. That last V is on the vulture.
Desert Oracle Radio.
If you haven't heard about that before, it's because the findings are fairly recent. First published in August of 2024, worked out by Dr. Martin Sweatman of the University of Edinburgh. The calendar is on that famous Göbekli Tepe column with that famous vulture sculpted in relief, a perfect vulture. If you use the Star Walk astronomy app or one with similar constellation art, you'll recognize that vulture as the same one behind the Lyre of Orpheus in the constellation Lyra, with Vega shining brightly on top. There's a solstice marking stone circle in Egypt, too, that goes back 7,000 years. And Stonehenge in southwest England dates from 5,000 years ago. Did the ceremonial chieftains of these prehistoric monuments make up a reason for everybody to leap forward or spring backward or whatever twice a year for no good reason? History is silent. Because it was the time of prehistory, as we mentioned. Although I've never quite bought the definition of prehistory, because writing is a development from pictographs, which are accepted as writing when it comes to Egyptian hieroglyphs, but not when we're looking at the lines of stylized animal carvings up and down the columns of Göbekli Tepe, which also seem to use something very similar to the modern letter V, or more accurately, the triangular delta letter in Greek, to mean day. Snowy mountaintops across the west, we love to see it. In the Western Mojave, all the transverse ranges have at least a dusting, with the big peaks all covered in white. San Gorgonio looks so pretty right now. You can almost forget it's a haunted mountain that eats people and is usually known by its local nickname, Old Grayback, because that's how it looks. The Sierra Nevada is already off to a great start for the year, especially if you're a skier or a water agency engineer. And it is predicted to have a solid midwinter snowfall-wise. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, acronym NOAA, get it? NOAA, predicts slightly above average temperatures in the border region of the Southwest, the usual in the middle, much colder in the Rockies and northward. Precipitation has already been way over average in California, with the Mojave already about 5 times the average October-November rainfall totals. So if it's a little lower through the winter, that's fine, we'll take it. Dear friends, lately I've been spread a little thin as I get our special Desert Oracle spinoff ready to launch for America's big 250th birthday, the U.S. Sesquicentennial. You're already seeing these first couple of episodes if you're a regular Desert Oracle listener, and they're legally and officially Desert Oracle radio episodes. Don't believe the haters. They're just categorized in a certain way to show that they are specifically esoteric history episodes, each one a complete story about a particular time or place or persons, all of the above generally, plus ghosts, and the long, strange story of America. But every little change of any kind is a bureaucratic and technological nightmare of dull chores and pointless roadblocks. So these efforts are always staggered and wounded when they are the sole responsibility of the host, writer, producer, designer, engineer, distributor, and janitor here at Desert Oracle headquarters. Screwed up my schedule 6 days to Sunday is what I mean. Oh, let me mention this while we change soundscape tracks. The soundscapes you listen to on this program are created by our own RedBlueBlackSilver. Check him out on Bandcamp. Sometimes I'll lose an entire week or 3 just trying to find out what happened to a pile of money I was supposed to get to finally pay the printer or other bills. I did all my parts, handed over property and proposals, whatever the scheme. Well, they just aren't going to pay the money, are they? What am I going to do? Outnumbered, outflanked, etc. War all the time, as Charles Bukowski said. Not the fun kind of war either, which is the kind I long for, as many of us do these days. Everybody wants some kind of war. War on the streets or war between the sheets, is that the saying? It's coming one way or another, whether you long for it or not. Now, I don't mind if I go down fighting, especially if it's in the woods, in the mountains, on the desert. Like my ancestors, like William Wagner Lane, sniping at the redcoats from the piney woods of Virginia. Although he survived, he headed off through the Gap to eastern Kentucky with the old family friend Daniel Boone, who surely charged the Lane family his customary fee, which may or may not have been paid in buffalo hides or corn whiskey. I've considered it, and I prefer being battle slain to every other alternative beyond expiring at the end of the trail up my beloved mountain. In the wild grove on the bright autumn morning of my 90th birthday. Sit under an old pinyon, gaze out upon the glorious wilderness one last time, and get some rest, finally. A peaceful end, which is far more likely than some glorious scene out of For Whom the Bell Tolls. Guerrilla warfare in the Sierra de Guadarrama. Militias and such things are a young man's work, after all. Although, if you remember the book, if you're one of the few who remembers how to read books, there is old Anselmo, the mountain guide, who leads Robert Jordan to the hidden camp of the rebels. Anyway, I'll officially launch the spinoff in a week or 3, God willing, Woden willing. It's called The Eldritch Republic. And if you're wondering what Eldritch means, take a listen to the second episode, Thomas Jefferson's UFO. Speaking of giving thanks to the gods, to Wotan, or however you call his name, it's almost Thanksgiving, and we out here in the Mojave Desert are very thankful for the constant drenching rain for these past several weeks or months, however long it's been. Everybody wants rain in the desert until it arrives. And round after round of pounding Pacific storms that not even our sky-high wall of mountains can keep out. Once again, I've got stuff growing out of the ground that 100% does not belong in the desert, and stuff we'd hoped that we'd seen the last of back in August. Like the miserable ragweed that thinks it's springtime already. The poor old dog can't even step outside without those evil goat heads sticking in his paws. But more storms are coming. Although there's a good sunny stretch of days coming all this Thanksgiving week. It's already so pretty out, it almost hurts to be inside during these 2 short days. But lucky and blessed is the desert visitor arriving in time for a week of sunny days of 60 degrees plus, and crisp autumn nights of 40 Fahrenheit or so. Hopefully all these muddy pools of rainwater will dry up, return to the heavens. But by next weekend, we're back to cloudy skies and probably more rain. I've lived in the desert for most of my adult life, and I just don't have enough rain gear. I don't even have, what do they call them? Those terrible blue plastic things that all the people wear up in Portland or Seattle as they're going to the drugstore to get their antidepressants. Raincoats? But they've got some awful new name now. Rain shells? I've got a winter coat that's made of oilskin. That's the skin of an oil field worker, and that works pretty good. Until day 4 or 5 of the rain. But then it never gets a chance to dry out all the way, even when I hang it by the fireplace, and it smells like my dog, which is a good smell for a dog, but less so for a man. You know, it's getting rough out there when the bankers are proposing 50-year mortgages. This idea was coughed up by some real estate advisor to the current government, bizarrely marketed as an FDR-style achievement. As Franklin Roosevelt's Great Depression administration pushed the 30-year mortgage as a way for cashed-out people to stretch a home purchase payback to the end of their expected lives, which was about 60 or 65 years for working people of those times, and maybe of the future. The 30-year mortgage was a move of desperation during a global economic collapse. And regardless of your favorite team in retail politics, team bankers or team bankers, we are entering an economic collapse. A demographic collapse. A grim awakening to the uncontested fact that most economic activity of the past dozen years plus since the housing market collapse is a shuffling of balance sheets on the computers. And the coming troubles are worldwide, playing out in similar ways from China to Western Europe. It's comforting for a lot of people to believe conditions are caused by whoever's elected to deal with the conditions, but the recent election in New York City is also about the price of housing. The 50-year mortgage is the brainchild of Wall Street in New York. And the socialist answer in New York to the same problem is government-owned housing projects for you if you're lucky. If you're a fan of government-owned housing projects, I advise you to spend 8 or 9 minutes reading up on such places. Whether in the dreary panel-locked towers of Soviet-controlled Eastern Europe, or the hellscapes of U.S. housing projects. Government contracts for government buildings to destroy the human soul, to crush opposition, to crush hope. Now, Instagram is full of accounts promoting $50,000 houses in various places that are generally safe to live in. Just make sure they're not in a collapsed Rust Belt or Midwestern city. But why not live in a farm town of 500 people in the middle of nowhere? Why not? Or up some lonesome road in the hills or off Highway 50 in the middle of the Great Basin Desert where they've still got truck stops, Western wear stores where the winters are cold and dry and the summers aren't much different, just hotter and drier. I talk with people about such things, especially city people toying with the idea. And the millennials always say something like, well, I don't want to be so far from government services. Honey, there aren't going to be any government services when you're old and you need them. Sorry. The best health plan for old age is living somewhere far away from the sirens and the night raiders where the air is clear and the water comes from a local spring, a well on your property. rainwater collection. With the way it goes, you'll probably have satellite internet to stream the slop. But you're unlikely to have Social Security or whatever sort of government payments that'll pay for you to just be alive. The local church, whether it's organized around the Bible or the Vatican or simple old ways of meeting in the high place now and then for festivals and worship, that's more likely to save you from starvation and the roving hordes than any political vision you're wasting precious emotional energy over today. The local hardware store will be a better source of survival than whatever billions the climate industry spends on propping up their global industry of lawyers and consultants and travel agents. Some people get the ick, as they say on whatever it is, TikTok. They get the ick over the idea of small communities, and I understand. I live on the edge of a place with about 35,000 people spread over 1,300 square miles of Mojave Desert. And I'd be just fine with the disappearance of about 29,000 of those people. Just whisk them off to wherever, the Rapture or Florida or work camps or cruise ships, I don't care. Too many people and too few who even notice this earthly paradise where they live. Beyond the rundown strip malls and potholed asphalt. Life was different in the old American settlements, especially the old settlements of the Blue Ridge, the Big Sandy, the Bluegrass, a lot of blue. Here's this from Mrs. Daniel Boone, one of the pioneer greats. Sunday, harvest moon, 1792. Dear Diary. Well, Daniel Boone has been gone on his long hunt now for about 18 months now, which I reckon is the longest time any woman of childbearing age should have to fight the old devil in the form of my husband's younger brother, who tempts me so with his charming demeanor, musical talent with the fiddle, plus how the children look so fondly on their uncle, who, after all, is blood relation to us all. If Daniel is not back in a fortnight, I fear I shall give over to such wild desire as Venus herself would faint to consider. Mrs. Daniel Boone. Well, it's something like that. I can't find the book. I had it out from where it was supposed to be, and then I thought it was in the studio, and here we are. That's basically what happened. Very family-oriented community. So Daniel Boone finally comes home. I believe he was imprisoned by the Indians for a year, and he took an Indian wife, so he could not really be holier than thou about it all. But when he got home, his wife was holding a baby. And Daniel Boone's own brother, whatever his name was the father. Let's say William or James. It's going to be something along those lines. I will find this book. Overall, that's a good way to look at how a small community in the wilderness might work. Everybody has to pitch in. Widows are often widowed young and with children who need a father. Widowers, too, are going to be common. Daniel Boone was all right about it. Had walked up to the clearing where the whole clan was out drinking and dancing around the fire one pleasant night. And his wife didn't even recognize him under the thick beard and sun-darkened face and all the filth. But he inquired about the baby, and his missus says, "It's your brother's. We'd all mourned your death for so long," etc. And Daniel Boone just smiled underneath all his filth and beard and hair, and he took the baby and he held it, and he raised that child as his own. And he never said another word about it. He did kill his brother. No, that's another story. His brother was fine. They had a real fine Thanksgiving that following Thursday. It all worked out. You can tell that story on Thursday. You can ask to say the blessing and then tell that story. Friends, if you listen till the end of the broadcast, then a friend you are indeed. And if you're looking for a stocking stuffer for the Desert Oracle appreciator in your life, including yourself, don't leave out yourself, well, I'm opening up the vaults and I'm selling individual copies of Desert Oracle number 10 for the first time. DesertOracle.com. Number 10 only went out to subscribers back in too long ago, so what I'm saying next is to address the problem mentioned previous. With some more money, I could afford to pay the printers and the post office for the next couple of issues. I would like to get them out. It's been another frustrating year on the make enough to print the issues front of the war. So if only 15% of the listeners, I know how many listen, if only 15% of you order the Desert Oracle Christmas Stocking Stuffer Special, which is a print copy of our beautiful issue number 10, the one with the ominous coyote, plus a 4x4-inch Desert Oracle yellow vinyl bumper or laptop sticker, well, then I can pay Mr. Corporate Industrial Printer plus the United States Postal Service for the production and shipping of the next 3 issues, which would take us through to the last issue I've promised, lucky number 13. You get the issue and the sticker all in an official secret Desert Oracle mailing envelope to your mailbox, all for $15.99, postage paid, sent straight from Yucca Valley, like Santa Claus hiding in your junk mail. Go to DesertOracle.com right now. It'll be at the top of the page. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks to all our patrons that support the show on Patreon. And good night from the voice of the desert.